Hello, welcome to WWE Network Review, and I am your host, Daniel Vale. Okay, what I love about WWE Network Review is that I can pick one day to talk about 1 year, and another day to talk about another year if I chose to. So, I watched a few weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, I watched when Scott Hall debuted, and he made everybody believe that he was Razor Ramon. Spoke about the first 2 episodes of that, and even spoke about how Kevin Nash, the third week, appeared. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was May 27th, 1996, so gotta look at that, make sure I'm not mistaken. May 27th, yeah. First of all, May 27th, 1996, gotta go to the ratings decision. I actually wasn't gonna look at the ratings, but I thought, what the hey? Why not look at the ratings just to see the difference? This was Nitro won the ratings 2.8 to 2.3. That meant they had a 0.5 win. And the matches in WCW Monday Nitro, they weren't necessarily great, but they were more... It was easier to watch because in this episode, the opening match, when Arn Anderson... By the way, first match was where the Horseman team of Arn Anderson and Ric Flair with Miss Elizabeth and Woman, they defeated the American Males. Because the American Males were new, and they were not... Okay. I try not to be too, try not to burn any bridges, but I'm just going to be honest with you. WCW, even though Bagwell and Riggs were pretty boys, so to speak, especially Marcus Bagwell, because, my mom never says this unless the guy is really good looking. She says how Marcus Bagwell is handsome. I mean, if she was single at that time, she would have wanted to date somebody like Marcus Bagwell as far as looks go. However, she does not mind men that are built like Arn Anderson. So that's kind of how I view WCW, is that they had... Some of them are better workers than WWF, but some of them had better characters. Or wrestling characters. Like, I want to say this without burning any bridges. To people out there that are strong supporters of homosexuality, or homosexuals having the right or freedom to get married to their partner. Well, I would never want to be rude because that is not something that anybody wants. But I will be honest. In the old days, before homosexuality became acceptable in society, or maybe not acceptable to everybody, but people started to stop making a big deal about it. So people started coming out of the closet left and right. Well, back when my parents were kids, there was a show called The Beverly Hillbillies, and the only character, by the way, people who never saw the Beverly Hillbillies, the show was about the hillbillies, of course, but what happened was, when one of the hillbillies was hunting for food, he shot at an oil. He had no idea it was oil, and he struck it rich. So $1 million worth. So the only one that did not want to move to California was they called him a mountaineer. His name was Jed Clampett, or J.D. Clampett. And Jed, his mother-in-law, they called her Granny, she did not want to go, and she said if the Lord wanted me in California, He'd put me in California. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. No. I'm not going to say I'm sorry. To be polite about it, I'd say this. I feel sorry for people that don't understand what is wrong with homosexuality. I feel sorry that because people have those tendencies, they think it's normal. I feel sorry for them, but what I mean by that is there is a reality that a lot of people don't know, and that is that, especially around where I live, even though there's a lot of people around here that are homosexual, there's still a lot of people around here that don't believe that homosexuality should be accepted, because when you look at homosexuality, there is nothing normal about it, you know. And when you see effeminate men, they look like women. They look like the way a woman traditionally acts. When you see a female that is homosexual and she looks homosexual, she looks the way a man traditionally acts. So the way I see it is that the point I want to make is that the first match in this episode of Monday Night Raw was Goldust, and the original Goldust, the better part of 2 years of his character was, in Vince McMahon's words, androgynous. And you know, I've seen pictures of that, and when a female is that way, that's one thing, but it's also unacceptable, because that's another word for suggestive. And when you can be compared to a transgender, which for some reason that too has become acceptable to a lot of people in society today. When you can be compared to a transgender and you're the opposite, even in that character, there's something wrong. And so, whereas I know a lot of people believe that it's okay because that's the way the world is, but just because a lot of people are that way does not mean it's right to be that way. best way I can say it is it okay to molest somebody? No. Is it okay to rape somebody? No. So, if you're gonna look at things that are unnatural, like those acts, and you can't look at homosexuality and put together that that's as unnatural as those two acts, what is wrong? I just have a question. What is wrong with society when they look at something as unnatural as homosexuality, or as unnatural as being a male but looking like a female, acting like a female, dressing like a female? When they look at that and they say that's normal, what's wrong with society when they say that? Anyway, getting back to the show, the purpose of the show should be just having wrestling matches as well as the characters. So, I believe that, for me personally, and people that like just the in-ring part of it, the first match probably helped Nitro in the ratings. But what really put them over the top was when Steve Dahl went against the Mauler with Colonel Robert Parker, and at the 5-minute mark, Scott Hall making his entrance through the audience, and when he came over the guardrail, the referee, Parker, Steve Dahl, and the Mauler just exited the ring because they didn't know what to think. And that's when Scott Hall said, "You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here." And he started asking where, in reference to the billionaire Ted skits, and I still don't understand why Hall or Nash or Hunter, anybody in the WWF, laughed at the southern part of WCW whenever that was actually the lifeblood of wrestling, until Ted Turner, or more specifically until Vince McMahon killed territories. I still don't understand it, but it's still funny to hear Scott Hall mock the southern accent of Ted Turner. More than once he would say WCW, like people from Georgia talk, specifically Ted Turner. And he started talking about all these characters, the Huckster, instead of Macho Man, the Nacho Man. And he said, talking about Nacho Man, he can't even step foot in the building, but talking about Scott Hall, he goes wherever he wants, whenever he wants. Then he said, then he mentioned the character name Scheme Gene, and another reference to the billionaire Ted skits. And he said, "Have I got a scoop for you? Tell that Ken doll lookalike I'm coming out here later on to talk to him." And it just ended the show later on in the night where he just said, no, let me save that for the end of the show. Goldust, by the way, in the first match lost to, no, he and the Ultimate Warrior wrestled to a double countout in a King of the Ring qualifying match. And then Jerry Lawler attempted to retrieve Marlena's director's chair, but the Warrior grabbed it instead and destroyed it in the ring. Then, during Steve Dahl's match, this was in Fayetteville, North Carolina, by the way, tag team champions the Smoking Guns defeated Skip and Zip in a non-title match. This was the time when